Dads, save your bread. Put it away. Save your bread. They don't want these. We think these are sweet. They don't want these. What shoes you want to put on?
Cow shoes.
You want to do the cow shoes? What about these? These are the new Air Max DNs. You don't like these?
No.
You don't like these that Daddy just bought?
If you already just bought.
Daddy just bought. What about these right here? Look at these. Some white and gray Nike Air Maxes. You want these right here? Or the cow shoes?
Cow shoes.
Okay. These are cool. The cow shoes are cool. $90 some of these shoes be. These was more. I caught these on sale for $90. What size are these? 10C. So he's in a 10C now. That's about when you jump to the next tier and shoes cost about the same as my shoes cost. Not really. My shoes super expensive now too. Who kid wear a 9C, man? Come get these shoes. Brand new. Never been worn, Lordy. Family pictures or special events, maybe I'll still pick them up something, but from here on out, it's Cookie Monster clothes and cow shoes.
So I've made the executive decision in my life that I will no longer be consuming Tim Hortons anymore. The quality of Tim Hortons over the last 10 years, probably longer than 10 years, has gone downhill tremendously. It's actually embarrassing and that's sad. Now, I grew up in the Greater Toronto area, specifically Scarborough, and the Tim Hortons there is always just terrible now anytime I go visit my parents. Right now I live in Durham region and the Tim Hortons out here sucks as well. And I'm starting to think it's a franchise issue, which is probably the case. I think that the franchise owners don't care about quality anymore. They clearly don't care about staff because somebody came to take my order and she obviously just finished having a Tim Hortons pastry herself and she had like a bunch of fucking crumbs on her face. And I was just thinking, like, you're gonna come ask me, serve me my food, and you're gonna look like that? Like, come on now, like, come on. So that was disgusting. But honestly, what really was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, which I should have stopped having Tim Hortons years ago from when I was 18, working at the bank, thinking, this quality is off. Like, oh gosh, you can only get certain things from there. I used to just stick to only, after a while, cinnamon raisin bagels with butter, which is boring. But why am I paying like $2 something, almost $3 for a bagel, and I can't even enjoy it? I had it the other day, it was terrible. So after a couple weeks ago, I said, you know what? I gotta stop with Tim Hortons. The quality is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. My dad stopped having Tim Hortons years ago because he said, this is horrible. And honestly, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I can't be the only one that is extremely disappointed with Tim Hortons because it's also an affordable, fast food, Canadian breakfast place. So, you know, you want to be able to just get it on the go. You want to be able to support them, but they're terrible, terrible. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm trying to keep it as limited as possible, this video. But honestly, guys, it's been really bad. It's been really bad. It's been really bad. Like I said, I grew up in Scarborough, Midland and Lawrence, that gas station, Tim Hortons, terrible, terrible, terrible for years. I haven't been having that. I haven't been eating at that location for years when I was living with my parents. And then there was a location up the street, Midland and Eglinton, terrible. They got closed down, but they were terrible. I've had terrible Tim Hortons coffee from the West End. I've had terrible Tim Hortons coffee north. Terrible Tim Hortons coffee Durham. The other day they gave me a coffee and the whole lid was disgusting. This was maybe like a month ago actually. And the lid was disgusting. And I was like, oh, ma'am. I was like, ma'am, before you gave me this coffee, you didn't know that this lid was like this? It was full of dust. It was stained already. I was like, ma'am, seriously. I'm disappointed, guys.
People are a bit foolish about name brands. I buy off-brand if I can. Yesterday, I walked through an aisle of school supplies. And they have pencils, number 2 pencils with erasers, sharpened, 48 to a box. And the off-brand was $2.39. That's a good price. The Ticonderoga, $6.43. Same pencil, made in the same manufacturing plant. You talk about silly for falling for that. I don't. There are certain things that taste off in food items if you buy the off-brand. So if it's that bad, don't do it. And, you know, buy off-brand if you can. You're going to save a ton of money.
Here's the difference between $320 Gucci slides and $3 Walmart slides. Gucci slides are made in Italy. Gucci slides come with built-in toe impressions. You might not know this if you don't have them, but They're kind of cool. Obviously, Gucci slides have a cooler design, and their foam is actually harder and denser than normal foam. Walmart slides are made in the US. They obviously look pretty ugly compared to Gucci slides, but honestly, their foam is pretty comfortable, so I think I prefer these. Obviously, the only reason you wear Gucci slides is for other people, and I'm not a big fan of caring what other people think about me.
Everybody knows when you go to the store, there's the name brands and there's the generic brands. And you're always gonna wanna get the name brands because they're way better. Everybody wants Pop-Tarts, nobody wants Toaster Treats. But are there any generic brands that are actually better than the name brand?
If I have the choice between buying a generic drug and a brand name drug, I'm always going to choose the generic. And here's why. You probably already know that generic drugs are generally much less expensive than the brand name versions. But there tends to be some back and forth and some confusion when it comes to the question of whether the brand name and the generic drugs are actually the same. The answer to that question, basically yes. Let me explain. So the brand name drug is always going to come to market first. That's because the brand name drug is the version of the drug that the pharmaceutical company has created. And they have a patent on that drug for a certain amount of years, meaning there can be no generics made by another company until that pharmaceutical company's patent runs out. Once the patent runs out, a generic drug manufacturer is then able to apply to have their generic drug approved by the FDA. Through that application process, the generic drug maker has to prove that their drug contains the same active ingredient as the brand name drug. It also has to be taken in the same way, and the dose has to be the same as well. The generic drug also has to be in the same form or shape. So if the brand name drug is a solution, the generic has to be a solution. If the brand name drug is a capsule, the generic has to be a capsule. But not only does the active ingredient have to be the same, have to be taken the same way, and have to be in the same dose, the medication also has to be bioequivalent. Remember that airport analogy or that club analogy we talked about before? Absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion. Bioequivalence means that your body is processing the generic medication the same way that it would process the brand name medication, which then tells the FDA that the two medications would have the same therapeutic effect, meaning they would handle your issue the same way.
Let me tell you why I stopped buying Chanel and started getting Hermes instead. Now, I used to be the biggest Chanel lover. It was even in my Instagram bio at one point, but a few years back, I decided to stop buying Chanel bags and starting collecting Hermes instead. First reason is the price. So Chanel have more than tripled their prices in the past 5 years or so, and the price for a medium flap and a Birkin 25 is now about the same. However, if I decided for whatever reason to sell, I would probably get twice what I paid for the Birkin, and I would not get my money back for what I paid for that Chanel price. So that is not a good investment. Second reason is the quality. Anyone that's ever owned a vintage Chanel know that that quality was unrivaled. The gold hardware was actually 24 karat gold, where now it's like a thin coating. These two bags are about the same age, but the quality of Chanel is truly shocking. So all of this metal here came off. I've actually changed the whole clasp because the gold coating came off and it was just pure silver. It's worn down in every single corner like this, if you can see. The stitching has come off here as well. The handle is broken, and this is after I've sent this in for repair, which took about 3 months and cost a lot of money. The Kelly, you know, on the other hand, is about the same price, and the quality is just perfect. All corners absolutely perfect. To be fair, this is a much more durable leather than the lambskin, but things like the hardware, the stitching is still absolutely perfect. The quality is just completely different. And the same goes with these lighter colors. Again, with my Chanel, you can see here there's been some color transfer at the back. This Craig Birkin, on the other hand, is absolutely perfect. There is absolutely no color transfer whatsoever, not on the handles either. So quality, price, you just cannot compare, and I'm therefore 100% Hermes nowadays.
White Fox Boutique, y'all need to do better. I literally ordered a dress, paid over $150 with the dress, the shipping, the duties, everything. Tell me why it came in, and it's literally the quality of Shein. Not even Shein, it's probably worse, to be honest. Anywho, I ordered a size medium. It wouldn't even fit over my calves. Like, the quality is so shit. The stitching on the side was brutal. I was so unimpressed, I emailed White Fox right away, and the customer service team had the audacity to send me the size chart and said for future reference to use it to ensure that I have the correct size. Like, hey, thanks babe, never gonna order from you again, and now I have this dress sitting in my closet that I'm never gonna use. And it looks and feels worse than a tablecloth. So PSA, do not order from White Fox Boutique.
I want to show you guys something that really helps illustrate just how out of control living in America is right now. I know so many people who are making more money than they could imagine, making more money than anybody else in their family has ever made, and still feels like they are struggling to get by. I really need people to say and understand how fake the rhetoric that we are using around like salary and purchasing power is. If you were somebody in 1991, in July 1991, that was the year and the month that I was born. If you were making $150,000 a year, if you had that purchasing power, right? In January of 2026, you would need to make almost $400,000 to have the equivalent purchasing power. And I pulled this up from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They have a calculator where you can calculate changes in CPI over time, right? And CPI is the Consumer Price Index. And that is the way that the government tracks things like changes in rent, groceries, medical bills, household items, right? It's not a static thing. They are taking into account what it takes to live a certain life. So somebody that was making $150,000 in 1991, you would have to make almost $400,000 in 2026. And another way to show this, right, is I kind of inversed it just to, again, paint the picture for people. $150,000 USD is the equivalent in 1991 in the month that I was born, the equivalent of somebody making $62,000. All of the metrics, all of the way that people talk about the economy, they talk about salary, they talk about inflation, these are based on models and metrics from the 90s that have not been updated. Because if they were updated, it would, I think, clearly show that if you are somebody, not to mention families, but if you are like an individual in the United States, if you're making like $100,000, if you're making $150,000, that is lower middle class, if we're being quite honest about it. That's crazy.
The reason that people feel broke today is because the purchasing power of our dollar from 1970 to 2025 has declined by 87%. To put that into perspective, if you went over to your grandparents' house and dug up a time capsule in their backyard from 1970 and found a $100 bill, that $100 bill from 1970 would have to be about $800 today to have the same spending power. Another way to look at it is if your grandparents buried $1 million cash in 1970, they could have purchased 50 median homes in 1970 and built a real estate empire in cash, paid off, owned 50 homes. If they didn't invest the money and buried it in their backyard and you found it today, that $1 million can buy you 2 or 3 homes. But if they would have invested the $1 million over all these years, you would have a $20 million real estate portfolio that's paid off. But here's the interesting part when it comes to retirement for millennials and Gen Zs. And I don't want this part to depress anyone. I just want it to be for educational purposes. A boomer who has $1 million cash today in their retirement account, let's say they pull out $40,000 using the 4% rule. If we want the same spending power as $40K as the boomers have today, in 40 years, we're going to need $108,000, meaning we're going to need $2.7 million in our retirement to be equivalent to a boomer who has $1 million today. So if you're 30 and you want to invest for 40 years, we would have to invest $773 a month for 40 years, 8% return, let's say, reinvesting your dividends to end up with $2.7 million. So if you're not there yet and you can't afford that, start with 50 or $100, but we need to work our way up to have that kind of money. This is something that we need to think about for our futures.
The dollar has lost 28 to 29% of its purchasing power since 2016. Prices are 40% higher than they were in 2016 based on CPI inflation. Y'all know what that means? That means something that used to cost $1 is $1.40 now. In 10 years, it went up, but that's not the only bad thing. $1 is worth 29% less. 100% of $1 is $1. $1 is worth 70 cents now. What the I'm trying to tell y'all. Not only is is it 40% more, but the dollar is 30% less. It's the same dollar bill, but it's worth less. Y'all not getting it. We're getting broker. I told them, I said $10,000 10 years ago and $10,000 today are two different things. $10,000 10 years ago can move mountains. $10,000 today cannot move mountains. And somebody said, what is he talking about, bro? $10,000 is $10,000. No, bro, I don't think you understand. The price of rent for a 2-bedroom at one point was $1,500. Before it was $1,500, it was $1,000. You could get a 2-bedroom house and live for $1,000 a day. $10,000 would have paid your rent for 10 months. $10,000 cannot pay your rent for 10 months today. Do you understand? To get 2+ bedrooms today is $2,000 plus. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That only gets you half of the months it used to get you. But the dollar bill is still the dollar bill. The 5 is still the 5. The 10 is still the 10. But the prices are out of there. And like somebody in chat said, no wage increase. That means whatever your minimum wage is for a regular job, 9 to 5, it didn't go up. If anything, it went down. It's not, oh, y'all make $8, y'all make $7.25. We're going to raise it to 10. Or you in LA, so it's like, yo, it was 10, then we raising it to 20. Nah. It's still 10. It's still 8. It's still $7.25. They're f***ing us. We got to lock in. So now you growing up carelessly and you never know these facts, but I'm going to translate it for you. So when I tell you that $10,000 today and $10,000 tomorrow, $10,000 today and $10,000 10 years ago is separate, you're going to be like, oh, it's just 10 years. But no, bro. 2016 was our favorite year. Everybody like to say, yo, that's when Uzi was popping. PNB Rock was out. Everybody, Cardi was prime Cardi. That's when life was lit. No, that's when life was cheap. Cardi. That's when you can pay your rent. That's why 2016 was lit. Because you can have a 2-bedroom house and move out of your mom's house affordably. Now you're looking at it like, how the fuck I'm supposed to do that? You don't even see a vision out of your mom's house now. It's crazy. We live in a place where you need to roommate up with people, aka split the bill. You have to split the bill. Because if y'all don't split the bill, y'all not going to have nowhere to stay. So damn near, we used to get our own crib, but damn near, y'all room renting now at this point. Y'all room renting. In 2026, you have to room rent. I get this room, you get this room, and you get this room, and we split it by 3 to afford the one bill. Nobody ever asks, why do people have to roommate? They said, well, it's more convenient to do that, so we're just going to do it. Nobody ever asks, damn, bro, why can't I get my own crib in America? Weird. And don't get me started if you live in New York and LA, and it's like, you definitely roommating.
If you just look around and pay a little piece of attention, you'll see so many people who don't have no identity, and so they use consumerism as their identity. Trendy shit, just buying shit all the time, knowing what's new, what's coming up. They got tickets to this. They know, oh yeah, so-and-so just put this out. You didn't see it? I saw it, yeah, and I bought it. I got consumerism. They just constantly buying shit, constantly doing shit to just fill the void. Yeah, these people don't have a sense of self. And when you sit too long with yourself, you start to actually have to look at yourself and reflect and think about things. Them motherfuckers don't want to do that. That's too deep. Hell no. Let me go buy something else. Let me go get a new tattoo. Let me go get a new motherfucking piercing around this bitch. You gonna be fucked up. I ain't thinking about shit. I don't even give a fuck. Fuck me. Really? I don't give a damn. And that's also why they keep people around them who feel the same way. Very shallow, surface level things, because that's all they have the depth for. Because they don't give a damn. I done said it before. People be having crushes on themselves. They don't like themselves, so they don't even go deeper. The shit you know about your crush, like, oh my God, their favorite color, they did this today. I saw it on this story. That's all they can think about for themselves. Because they don't have no goddamn personality. The only personality or piece of personality they have came from consumerism. Came from them being able to buy something that somebody else put out. That's it. Participate in something that somebody else created. That's it. Go to an event that somebody else set up. That's it. I'm scared of them motherfuckers. I am. They be ghastly. You know what I'm saying? Like walking skeletons. These people have no soul. They feel like their soul is tied into the capitalist society. Their soul is tied around money. Every piece of dollar that come in their hand, they got a plan for it. And that plan came out of their soul. I need this Lululemon set. I need that shit. Or else I'm gonna die. Or my week is gonna be ruined. Because that's all I care about. Now that I woke up this morning, the sun shining, I got so many opportunities and I have a great job. I have a good future ahead of me. It's that I did not get the fucking tickets to go to this goddamn concert because they were all sold out, and I already bought my fucking outfit. I bought everything off of goddamn Shein, and truly, like, it's so disappointing. Like, what the hell? Which I understand.
Y'all ever notice how it's only overconsumption when we're talking about women? Labubus, matcha, purses, blind boxes, etc. But like when men spend thousands of dollars on hundreds of thousands of pairs of sneakers, it's not over. I've never seen anybody use the word overconsumption when it comes to men collecting things, ever. So I'm gonna need y'all to just like lay off of women for a second on the whole overconsumption thing, because I'm starting to feel like there's an unnecessary double standard. Are people overconsuming things? Absolutely. But we need to clock everybody who's overconsuming and not just women, because that's weird. And I feel like the patriarchy really actually ruins everyone's perceptions of everything. And everybody always thinks that we're making society better by clocking people for different things, but oftentimes it's like misogynistic and falls into the umbrella of just feeding the patriarchy, which is really scary. So just food for thought. That's all. I think people should just think about that a little.
People ask me every day, why would you do private label for other companies that help other people start their own line when you have your own brand of products? And the reason is, when you have manufacturing like this, you can do economies of scale and you can make other people's stuff while also making your own. And we have 3 different automated bottling lines that you see right here behind me. Automated waxing, or not automated, but semi-automatic, I guess. Waxing machines, so machines that make wax, polishes, things like that. And obviously soaps, dressings, tire shines are all made here, and we're still installing some more stuff right there. So if you do want to start your own line, check out my website. It's renegadeprivatelabel.com. I have pricing directly on there, so if you want to see what volume or tiered pricing is based on the amount of bottles that you buy on either, say, 16-ounce bottles or 1-gallon jugs, you can see that directly on my site. I have home cleaning chemicals, car cleaning chemicals, and other stuff that are more exotic things. So check out my site for more info.
Something bigger is happening here than Americans simply looking for cheaper product. The American shoppers is becoming more skeptical, and skepticism changed the entire relationship between customers and a brand. For a decade, companies could rely on familiarity. You knew the logo, your parents bought it, you trusted the product, you didn't always question the price. But now, consumers can compare almost everything. They can see the cheaper alternative, they can watch someone test it, they can read thousands of comments, and they can switch with almost no effort. That is why the numbers around declining brand loyalty matters. This isn't necessarily the death of brand. People still are favorite. People still pay more for things they genuinely believe are better. But the standard is changing. The brand name alone isn't always enough anymore. And that is probably the most important part of this entire story. Americans aren't necessarily saying, I don't want your product. They are saying, give me a reason to choose it. And for companies that spent decades building loyalty, that is a very different kind of customers. Because once people learn to question the name on the package, they may never look at the shopping aisle the same way again. Thank you. I will see you in the next video. Bye.